It's so bright on the edge right there. That made it worse. Well, shit. I'll be right back. Alright, so I just decided that I wanted to do a Q&A for any specific questions that anyone wants to pose, since I already posted my review on the LG V30. So I'm wiping the camera off, which it doesn't seem to be doing much, but so the camera's up there. Hey, what's up? So whatever questions that may come up that you guys may want to ask about this right here, let me know. Because there are some things I actually forgot to cover. Not a lot, but there's very minor things. So whoever wants to join can. Oh, God. So, I guess just coming right off of here right now, I just want to say, in regards to this device, the LG V30, long term, I guess I can say that, despite whatever flaws may be on this device for a lot of people, no removable battery, no, I was about to say no expandable storage. There is expandable storage, no IR blaster, headphone jack on the top rather than on the bottom. There's a lot of things that this phone does compromise. Well, not a lot. There are some things that this phone compromises in terms of, I guess, sheer usability. I believe that the headphone jack should have stayed on the bottom simply due to the fact that it would have been easier to manage cables, because rather than, having it sit up like this so that one cord could come out this end and another could come out this end, I'd much rather have it so that both come out one end. But either way, it ultimately depends on how or when you're using your headphone jack. If you tend to use it with, like, say, stereo systems, cars, and stuff like that, and you have like a flat surface to lay it on, it's easy to just lay it on there and have it sit there, and the headphone jack is up top, so it's a bit more easier in that case for it to just sit there. But I don't know if I'm actually live or what's going on. No, I don't know if people are actually in or not, because for some reason It wants to say people are, it wants to say people aren't. But it's kind of weird. The one thing that, well, I don't necessarily know what I would like to say, but whatever questions you guys have, like I've said, just say it. Because, like, if you want to know about any specific issues or anything on that note, just let me know. Because there really isn't much that I can say, like, right off the bat that I hate. Well, that's a gripe without actually. Because the thing is, when you have a new phone and you have it right here, right? And you've been using it for some time, it's kind of hard to say that something is bad about it, despite the fact that I've been using it for over a week. Because there's nothing that has really been bothering me. It's just more that there are minor gripes. And that's pretty much it. It's kind of like, oh shit. Like, say when it comes to something like the V20 or even the V10, for example. The problems that I have with this phone, I can clearly tell you right now because I've had these for over a year. The V10, I'd say the one thing that is a problem on the V10 is the amount of light bleed that you see on the top, that you see on the secondary display, which is one reason why I'm not very mad that the secondary display is gone. The one thing I don't like about the V20 is its front-facing camera. The same thing on the V30 is the front-facing camera is also not so great. It could be better. While I drop my V20. There isn't. I might actually turn this into a different kind of Q&A. I don't know. Because I kind of want to have a general Q&A, not just about the V30. But if you guys have any questions about, obviously, this phone, the V30, let me know. But I also want to talk about stuff like the Razer phone, the Essential phone, other devices in general. And let me know what you guys actually think about those devices. Because now that, say, the Essential phone has went from its original $700 price tag now down to $450 and probably even lower than that, there might be a reason to get it. And I've heard the camera has indeed gotten better with its updates, but which was the main thing people didn't like about it, was the camera. But yeah, I did try with the built-in microphone. With the external, I haven't, but with the built-in microphone, I actually used it in my review. I recorded it in a... Jarrell, what you doing here, bruh? What you doing here? But as far as, the microphones on here, they're very nice. I have to get back into using them because with the V20, I learned very well how to use them and they work very well. But with the V30, I kind of forgot. And since there aren't as many microphones on here as there are on the V20, because there's 3 AOP microphones on the V20, there's 2 on here, but the receiver also acts like a high quality mic as well. So it sounds fairly well. Like, I'll do a live demo here actually. This is a live demo of the LG V30's microphone. I'm not too good at messing with the settings on here, but I just want to do a quick demo. This is a live demo of the LG V30's microphone. I'm not too good at messing with the settings on here, but I just want to do a quick demo. Yeah, it's not too bad. But Jarrell, shouldn't your ass be asleep? Don't you got work? But yeah, well, I shouldn't be talking. I have to work too tonight. But as far as the microphones on here, they're good. They're really good, and they sound really nice. And I like the feature of being able to use the microphones as, say if you want to start doing podcasting or you want to record, there is a nice feature. Of course, that makes sense. How we always nap and wake up randomly, right? But there is a feature, if the phone will. I'll just read it off here. In the advanced settings of the phone, of the HD audio recorder, you can save a separate copy of the recording without the music. Say if you use this phone to record for like music or anything like that, you can do that so that the audio and the voices and the instrumental are separate. You could choose obviously to save to either internal storage or SD card. I don't know why I have it set to internal storage, but you could choose the file type. Say you want it in either M4A, WAV, or FLAC. This phone doesn't want to focus, but you could choose that. You could choose the bit depth. You can choose the sampling rate as well. I always have it at its highest sampling rate, which is 96 kilohertz. So you can choose to have it like that as well. And you could also choose, say, if you want to do it for a concert or anything like that. This is another test for the mic on the LG V30. I'm testing the concert mode to see how it sounds compared to its custom mode. This is another test for the mic on the LG V30. I'm testing the concert mode to see how it sounds compared to its custom mode. And there's also a normal mode, which you don't get any of the granular control that you get from, say, the custom mode. And the one thing I do miss, I don't have a USB-C to HDMI cord, so I can't do that. I might actually try that. To be honest, I don't want to. That is really interesting. I might actually do that to see if that works, because I know the Huawei Mate 10 and Mate 10 Pro can do that. So I might actually get a USB-C to HDMI and try that out. I'm pretty sure it can do it. I don't see why I wouldn't be able to, but I just haven't thought about doing that. But as I was saying, with the HD audio recording app, with the V20, I actually got to turn it on. The one thing I do miss about the ticker display, the display up top, the secondary display, is that with certain, it's no problem. Yeah, with certain apps, say certain first-party LG apps anyway, it gives you, I'll actually show you guys even more. So I'll go back into this audio recording app, and once the V20 is done booting up here, I'll show you guys what I mean. But certain controls are put into the secondary display so that you have more room on the main display for everything else. That's probably the one thing that I like about having that secondary display is that those controls aren't put into like a tabbed menu or anything like that. Give it a minute, it's loading everything. Where did I put it? It's right there. What the fuck? They must have updated it because for some reason I gotta accept some terms. But see, as you guys can see up here, the modes are actually up here so that you can just switch between them on the fly. It's just booting up, so it's a bit slow. So, and on the v30, you have a tabbed menu that you can either hit that or swipe from the left, and they'll come up like that. And with the camera, the one thing I really do miss is that the modes, unfortunately, are all in here, or all in one like big mode tab. And on the v20, which is actually the one thing I miss probably the most, if I can find the camera app, is that you have your auto, your manual, and your manual video modes right there. And you also are able to get, say, your notifications in the secondary display rather than it covering up anything that you're doing. Let me turn Wi-Fi off. So yeah, that's pretty much the one thing that I do miss about the ticker display, or the 3-4 things I miss about the ticker display, is being able to have certain things in menus right up top there rather than having to go into a separate menu to use them. And I guess just not having what else? Honestly, it just comes down to personal preference, whether you like the tank look and feel of the which honestly I prefer the tank look of the V20 and feel of it. Or if you like this more elegant feeling and look of the V30. And if you just prefer OLED displays. For me personally, oh God. For the speakerphone, I can say that the speaker is very loud and it's clear enough on my end for me. And I haven't had any complaints with stuff like people not being able to hear me, or it sounding jarbled, or it sounding bad. Especially since majority of the people I call also have like T-Mobile phones, so they have that like HD call feature, so that calls come out very clear and very crisp. They don't sound terrible, and they don't sound bad at all. So for me personally, like, I don't call much on my phone, but when I do, I don't necessarily hear people talk about they can't hear me or I sound bad. The only time that's happened is at my day job before I quit it at Sears, and that was because of terrible signal. That place had bad signal, so they couldn't hear me because signal kept cutting out. But Call quality is nice and clear. It's never heard complaints from anybody, and I personally don't have any complaints. LG has always had pretty good receivers, and they've had pretty good, you know, mics so that people could hear you crisp and clear as well. So if you call people a lot on your phone, I think this would actually be a good option for you. My Note 8, for example, in comparison, I like the receiver, not the speaker, is very like low, and it sounds very like muted. This sounds very clear and crisp and loud, but not overbearing. And the speakerphone on here sounds clear as well. Not crisp, it depends on who you call or what you call. Say if you're calling your bank or something to check your account, which I don't know why you would do anymore, but if there's a billion apps for that from your bank, but a lot of people still do that. So if you do that, it's more of on the receiving end of how their system sounds. But as I said, no real complaints from me. Aside from when there is no signal, it sounds bad, and it cuts out a lot, but that's what you should expect if you have no signal. So yeah, really no complaints from me or anybody else that I've called, whether it be my dad, mom, girlfriend, anybody. I haven't really heard any true complaints on that end. Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, audio is great. It's actually good on both ends, especially if you're constantly using your speakerphone. And even though it has water resistance, the water resistance doesn't stifle the speaker, because the S7 had the problem where since it had water resistance, the speaker was a little bit lower than a lot of other phones at the time, even compared to other phones that had water resistance as well. So it's good to know that even with like the G6, it was very loud and very clear as well, the speaker. So LG has done a great job with their speakers, not having them sound tinny. And I do agree that probably next year they should add stereo speakers, but it's not something that's a deal breaker for me, so long as it's loud enough, and I get that. Um, what else should I talk about? Yeah, it's no problem, man. Shit, almost dropped the phone. One thing I do say I'm impressed by is how compact the phone is with a 6-inch display. Let me compare it to another 6-inch a phone with a 6-inch display. This is obviously broken, but this is the Nokia Lumia 1520 v30. Both have 6-inch displays. This is 1080p LCD Quad HD plus OLED. And see how good it fits literally in the entire footprint of the Lumia. Whereas the Lumia is big and it's kind of unwieldy, but I like that actually about it. It feels more akin to what a phablet should be, in my opinion. But I do think that it being compact and feeling nice in the hand. A lot of people complained about it being light, and I don't think that's a problem for me personally, because of the simple fact that due to me carrying around the Note 8 and this, having a phone that's a bit lighter that I use pretty much as my daily driver, even though I technically use both as my daily driver, They're both phones. I prefer the lightweightness of this phone, especially due to it having the better camera for me personally on the rear anyway, compared to the Note 8. The front-facing camera stomps the V30's front-facing camera. That's just something that's personal. That's why I'm pretty much using it as my live camera right now. But it's pretty much honestly, I can't necessarily think of anything else that um I use all pretty much all versions of all variants of the unlock method. There's four or five different ways. I use either not code, which is basically just it didn't work because the screen woke, but and it'll unlock like that. I use voice unlock, high v30, face unlock, which works very fast, but due to the lighting, it's acting really weird. And I also use the fingerprint. I pretty much use all of them, and they all work very well. They all work very fast. And I like the option of having all of these security methods in one phone. And the one thing I do wish they had was like two-factor authentication. Say if someone does put your phone to your face, right, and it wakes and it unlocks, I wouldn't I would actually like it if they had that factor authentication, just so that they aren't like truly able to get into your phone just by doing that. So like I said, I use all of them. They all work very well. Say if it's raining or anything and your fingerprint sensor got wet, it's easier to be able to just use whatever keyword you want to use for your voice unlock or use face unlock, and it works very well. Even when I say I had my beard, and you can retrain it every time so it knows what what your face looks like in various conditions as well. Kind of like what Apple does with its iPhone 10 Face ID, but it works. It works almost as fast actually. And I actually agree with Apple's method of not having it instantly unlock, because what if you just want to see your notifications, right? So I do agree with that. I don't think it's something that is needed to have your phone unlock right away. But if you want that, you could set it so that it just unlocks right away too. But either way, I feel it works better than Samsung. The face unlock on the Note 8, I think it works better than that because it works with the screen off. And you also can't have it so like you want your iris scanner on, you have to turn off face unlock if you want to use, iris unlock, which I use iris unlock on my Note 8, so I can't really use face unlock on there. So yeah, it's obviously not as secure as say Apple's variation of it, because you need your eyes open. You don't necessarily need your eyes open on the V30s. I've tried it. And overall, I think it's just easier and I think it's just more secure overall. I do, um, I do hope, like, eventually, though, that they can make it so it's as secure as Apple's without having to add a billion sensors like they did, which they probably can't do that. But due to the fact that, there is a bezel up here, they probably can add all those sensors and have it work as well. You know what I mean? And the thing is, I don't get why Samsung doesn't make it so that the iris, flash can illuminate your face. so that face unlock works at night, because it doesn't work at night. This doesn't work at night either, but it would be nice if that was the case. Um, yeah. What other questions do you guys have? Because I actually want to start another live video and do a separate, like just in general Q&A about say other devices as well, rather than just talking V30. Because I've already done a live video on here of my first impressions, as well as I just posted my review. So if you want to know even more about the phone, I'd say watch that. But this was more for just like specific questions and stuff that I didn't cover. Like, I know I didn't cover stuff like, does it output to a TV with a USB-C to HDMI cable, or how good is the call quality and stuff like that. I know I overlooked those definitely, so those are great questions to ask. But I also want to talk about other stuff aside from the V30. Not saying that I'm bored of it, I'm definitely not. But I just want to talk about other stuff. So if there aren't any other questions, I'll get to starting this other live video about my thoughts on Essential, Razer phone. Does it support two Bluetooth devices? Unfortunately, I don't have two Bluetooth devices. I only have one, but I'm pretty sure it does. Like, I'd have to, oh, I do. What am I talking about? I have this Bluetooth speaker. If it ain't dead, which it shouldn't be, I haven't used it. Give me one quick second. I gotta make sure this speaker didn't die. Which honestly it shouldn't have. Yeah, it's probably dead. But I might actually make a separate video on that, seeing the latency difference between, say, this phone and the Note 8 on Bluetooth 5 and supporting multiple devices at once. It should, you know. If it has Bluetooth 5, I don't see why it wouldn't be able to, but
power on.
All right. Oh, obviously I gotta turn Bluetooth off on my Note 8 here, because these tones are connected to, and since these also have speakers on them.
Pairing.
Sorry, I'm trying. I'm waiting for it to connect to these freaking headphones. Oh, it's trying to connect to my freaking. It's trying to connect to my tones, which I don't have right now. I have my homie's tones because we actually switched them.
Connected.
Mm.
Your device is connected.
Yeah, it connects to both. So, let me see. Guess I'll just like play one of my videos. I'm really getting tired of YouTube right now. Cause when I posted my review on the V30, what it did was it decided, oh, we're gonna demonetize instantly. Not that it matters, it really doesn't, but what's up, y'all? Sparta here. I want to do my now. It's been over a week now. I got the phone last Monday. It's Thursday now. I wanted. Whoa, that's loud. Shit. So, I think the thing Samsung does, they have this thing called Samsung Connect. So that's how they can make it so that you can play out of two things at once. The thing you can't do on the V30 is do that, but you can connect to two different Bluetooth devices at once. Say, okay, so you see this icon right here up in your notification shade. You scroll down, if the phone will, and you see that it shows the tones right here. Let me turn the screen down. It shows the tones right here. It's still not doing it right. There we go. And then it shows the speaker. No, it shows the speaker as the second one and the tones right there, and your V30 speakers as the third one. You can switch between all three of these on the fly. But the thing I don't think you can do, I might actually have to look into settings here. Yeah, you can't exactly make it so you can use that as your. You can't use them separately. I mean, you can't use them at the same time, but you can use them separately. Yeah, you can select and switch it. I just turned off the tones, but you can definitely select and switch it between if you want it on the speaker and if you want it on your headset. You can do that. As far as what I'm preferring as my daily driver, to be honest, I prefer the V30, but not saying the Note is trash or anything like that. That's definitely not what I'm trying to say. It's just that when it comes to what I like a phone that has software that doesn't bug out, really. Now, I have had an issue where my V30 did have a slight bug out, like last night.
Goodbye.
All I had to do was reset the phone, but I don't ever do that. And I think the problem was that it was hot in my room, and I was actually using the manual video mode to its max potential. And I was recording video after video after video. And I think it was like my third video at that point. So it kind of decided to freeze up. So I just reset the phone. But normally what I do in that, when my phone is it doesn't slow down. I don't do it when it slows down. I just do it subconsciously. I just go into the smart cleaning app that's built in on the phone, and I just decide, oh, I want to save up or clear out space and stuff like that. And it works instantly, and it doesn't make the phone run any smoother, but it honestly makes it feel, and honestly helps making it so you don't have to, I have to reset my phone again today. Stuff like that. Stuff that I haven't had to do on my Note yet, but it's something that I'm sure will happen soon. Because my Note has been lagging out a little bit, but it hasn't been doing it to a point where I think it's a bad phone. Because I don't think the Note 8's a bad phone at all. Whereas a lot of people think it's a disappointment. I don't think that personally. But I understand why people think that. As I also understand why people think it's the best phone on the market right now. Oh yeah, you could turn on the flashlight with the V20 and V30's second, well, technically not a second display on here, but you can do that through the always on display. All you got to do is you got to swipe from here. There's a flashlight button right there, and it turns on. Same with the V30. You swipe there, and it's the very last option, and you do it on there. You can do it on the V10 as well. It's literally the same thing. Just through screen off, you can do that. You can also set it to where you can do that on, like, say if your screen is on, you can set it to do that, have it as like a separate shortcut. But I think it's also in the notification shade. And you could just customize it to put it there. Yeah, it's no problem, man. Want to make this as informative as possible. One thing I also forgot to mention that in my review is that LG does include a microfiber cleaning cloth in the box too. Due to this beauty of a phone, it is also a fingerprint magnet, so you obviously want to keep it clean. So that is a great thing for them to do. Hopefully Samsung does that too. I know HTC also does that. They put microfiber cleaning cloths in the box, which I think is a nice thing overall. Check my battery, 73%. That's actually not bad. So yeah, if there aren't any more questions, I'm gonna end this live broadcast here. Start a new one probably in a couple minutes, in like maybe half hour. Get something to eat, get something to drink, because I'm a bit parched. If you get, like, I've heard a lot of people ask me, am I sick or anything like that? I'm not sick. I just tend to not drink water before I do anything. Let me see. No, it's actually not wobbly. Let me show you. Okay, so there's actually very little, it's hard to do this, resivity, but it's actually not wobbling whatsoever as far as it when it's on the table. Something that the V20 does do a bit. And the camera bump actually isn't that big. It's actually very, very small. So you don't have to worry about that. But say something intense like the iPhone 10, that camera bump is obviously going to do something. But even then, I think what LG did with the V20 with this camera bump, you see how large that is? Even though it has this large camera bump, it doesn't necessarily wobble. Unless you type from the top of the screen. But it doesn't really wobble as much as, say, the iPhone 10 with its weird camera bump where they placed it. I think that was a weird move on their part to make it so that it's vertical. Or I forget. Up and down. Yeah, it's no problem. I know that's this thing that a lot of people... The one thing I do like about, say, the G6 is that it has no camera bump at all. Like, literally none. But I think why there's a camera bump on here, because one's a 16 megapixel and one's a 13 megapixel camera. Whereas on the G6, both of them are 13 megapixel cameras. So due to them being at parity, it's probably easier for them to have it be a flat camera on the back without a bump. Plus the G6 is pretty thick. Pretty thick and pretty boxy, which I personally like, but hence why I have a Note 8. But it's something that's very I understand because people don't like having cases. I personally I don't really, but I switch depending on what I'm doing. If it was my V20, I wouldn't rock a case, period. But since the V30 is made of glass, I kind of have to during work. So, which even then, the mill standard A10G, because I barely rocked a case with my G6 and had no problems either. So, didn't mean to expose my shoulder. It was itching. But as far as that goes, I'm pretty sure that's it as far as what I feel. I'm going to start a general Q&A here in, like I said, about half an hour. So if you want to bring more questions about the V30 there, you can. I'm not saying no more V30 because it's a hot phone right now. And I also want to probably make a video on if LG failed the V30. I don't know how I feel yet because a very high trafficked video on my channel is how LG failed the V20. And this phone was the first phone I ever reviewed on my channel, so it kind of was very personal to me for me to talk about this phone and how I feel they failed it. I don't necessarily think that LG failed the V30, but I'll talk about that more in that video. Okay, so that's it as far as this video goes. Like I said, if you want to come back in about half an hour, I'll make another video about how I feel about this phone. Or not this phone. How I feel about other phones in general. Say, want to talk Razer phone, Moto X4, anything. Not just related to Android, but anything. The death of Windows Phone, stuff like that. If you want to talk about that, catch me in my next live video in, I say, about half an hour. All right. This is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for the support. I will be back, and have a good one.